Knowledge Alliance. It's me, Jimbo, and you're back for Crypto Live. Thank you for stopping by today. If anyone's out there watching live, just pop a little note in there, say hello. It'd be excellent to get any input from you guys if you're out there. Obviously, having a look here at Bitcoin, seeing that it's currently 3.7% down, so it's actually climbed a little bit back up since I titled the video. But we'll do a little bit of a further deep dive into that momentarily. I'll just see if we get anyone else join us. I'm just going to check that we have some volume. Bear with me, make sure everything's live. Excellent. Okay, all right, guys. So whilst it's quiet, I'll just get the formalities sorted. Before we begin the video, guys, I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I giving financial, legal, or tax advice. You should always seek advice when entering a speculative investment. And cryptocurrency is certainly a speculative investment. Okay, now guys, now we've got that out of the way. Let's jump in and start with Bitcoin USD. And as you can see, we're down 3.845% today. Here's our 4-hour chart with the lines that we overlaid in the previous video and some of the ones before that. Here's the line that we specifically put in the last video. Based on seeing this previous resistance wick that had formed here. We popped this line at 13,364. It was always a little bit vague of an area, but you put the line in to sort of set yourself a target based on the candle resistance that you can see. And as you can see, we approached the area, didn't quite touch it. We were about $100 or so off, something like that, $100 and $150 away from the line that we originally cast in. But yeah, as you can see, we broke through these resistance supports levels that we had previously outlined. We did certainly spend a little bit of time and volume here around the 12,500 mark, and then we pushed on and tested the next area with a couple of wicks above, but nothing substantial enough to break up. And as you can see, we are yet to set a higher high than the high set back here on the 26th of June. And again, as I said in the previous video, to have real faith in this move continuing and not turning to the downside, I would have liked to have seen a new high set on this wave, but we haven't seen that just yet. I'm looking for signs today of a potential bounce here on the 4-hour to see if perhaps there's more red to come for Bitcoin, or if maybe we're going to see it turn back up. And I've got this neckline that we drew in the previous video when we had a look to see if this was a head and shoulders formation. Inverted head and shoulders formation, sorry, that had formed here. And this is the neckline that we drew for that. And as you can see, it's acted as a reasonable level of support. Although we've actually dropped down and even broken this bottom support line, we have seen it bounce back up and stay above this neckline. So I'm keeping an eye on this this diagonal here. I think this could be an interesting support line to watch. Certainly as we're wedged between what could be potential support here and the resistance line that we've previously seen act on several occasions here at 11,780-ish zone. So a break through that, and perhaps we go up and retest again. But if we do fail to the downside, I fear that there is a retracement ahead. Again, we've got this support box from, I think this is from... sorry, it's a couple of weeks back. We drew. I think maybe it was last week when we started to turn back down off this drop here. We drew this support box in and said this was an area we were going to look to. It's acted once. Perhaps we're going to go and see a retest of this area. Top end down at 9,650, and bottom end of this box support area about 8,700. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if we get back down there. I'm sure that would be a great buying opportunity. For some people, would see that as a great opportunity to enter the market, I'm for sure. Don't take that as my advice. I'm just saying I think that there'll be people who will be looking to scoop it up if they can do. I'm just going to have a little jump on the chat and see if we've got anyone in yet. Guys, if you're here, just say hello, let me know. If you've got any charts that you want to have a look at, we will get them lined up and do that also. See, we've got Adib in. He says, hi, Jimbo. Any thoughts on Dent? Adib, we'll have a quick look at Dent for you in a moment. Great to have you here, mate. Thank you for joining us. James says, hey, Jimbo. Adib, I ended up with a bag in my trading account, plan to keep it now. And Adib, yeah, me too, James. Yeah, so Dent, we'll go and have a little look at that for you guys. We've obviously had that news circulate a few days back now that Dent had been confirmed to be on the Samsung platform, their blockchain platform. And of course, you anticipate some sort of nice action or some attention at least drawn from that news. And we're yet to see any real significant price action to the upside. And I think, in fact, we've had the opposite of that, and it may have retraced down. Let's have a look into that. Of course, the market has been suffering. Certainly, the alts have been suffering recently, which is a shame. But we know that when there's areas of high Bitcoin volatility, and more importantly, times of high Bitcoin dominance, the alts tend to have a bit of a rough ride. So we've got Dent here at the moment now at 9 Satoshis. I think this was the spike when the news was released. We had a little jump up to 14. And again, as the rest of the markets continued down. It's, of course, not financial or legal advice in any shape or form, but I see this turning a corner. It's a bit of a bag to carry at the moment. That's for sure. And it's always frustrating to see something drop down further. And you think, oh, I possibly could have got it at a cheaper price, but that's the way of the market. Hopefully we'll see this turn around pretty quick, and that news certainly helps to solidify Dent's position in the market for the future, in my personal opinion. I think that's positive news for the project. I think that's going to get some attention at some point, even though it's yet to have that just now. Just realized I left my fan on. You guys must have been able to hear that. So very hot here today in England, stuffy and warm today. Nice to have warm weather, but yeah, quite stuffy. Just see if anyone else has joined us here today. James has said Matic. Yeah, we can have a look at Matic as well. No problem, James. And Nikki Sheldrake is here. Welcome along, Nikki. It's great to have you here. I think this may have been possibly the first time you've joined us. So great to have you here. Guys, if anyone is able to, if you could just give us a little like on the video. And if you're new here, give us a subscribe and you'll get the alerts out when I go live on YouTube platform, as well as if you're in the Telegram groups. And if you're not here from the Telegram groups, find the link in the description. That's a really interesting place where we discuss cryptocurrency. There's some very intelligent heads in there, very useful input. I really enjoy being part of it. It pushes me to want to learn more, almost on the daily occurrence, and I really enjoy that. So many different opinions and perspectives. Really good. So we've got a falling formation here, range that we're moving in. No current signs of seeing it break back up to the top side of this. Perhaps we might see this confirmed as a falling wedge as we go forward. It might look a bit clearer on the daily or something like that. Let's have a look. Oh, it really is not a nice chart to look at there on the daily, but we do seem to be bottoming out slightly, hopefully, here on the TDI. So it'd be nice to see if we could catch this bottom. We do trade below this in some periods. That's right at the back at the beginning of this chart, so that's going to be a bit useless to us. But yeah, you can see that this 27 area has acted as a bit of resistance on the TDI previously for Dent. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that and see if it drops any further. I mean, like I said, driven by that fundamental news, you have to think that there's got to be some movement for it. And not, again, my opinion. I think that is a positive, albeit not moving as fast as we would certainly like. But I guess patience is the name of the game in some situations. Seeing if I can draw any other formations on this that give me any more of a bullish perspective TA wise. I guess we just have to hope that the fundamentals drive the price for this, and I'm sure they will. Possibly you've got a bit of a wedge formation there. It's very, very big formation. I guess if you could say, I mean, it's a long way away. That's the thing. But if you were to break this this resistance here up at 25, then you would possibly see quite a big move out of the back of that. But again, 25 seems like a long way away when we're at 9 Satoshis. So I can appreciate that. So let's keep an eye on this. Hopefully we're seeing a sign here that the daily chart started to bottom out here, but just have to keep an eye on it. We really want to see this support hold, and it's been doing well so far. Getting across back up above the lagging 50 here on the TDI on the 4 hour. I want to see it really move with some more momentum. And then once you get down to a more micro view of these charts for something like Dent, that's got such a tight spread, it just becomes nonsense because your moving averages don't mean anything. It's just sharp and a bit useless for that sort of analysis. So that's a 1 minute. That's certainly not going to help. Put it onto the 1 hour. It's a little bit clearer, but still, as you can see, it's much more of a blocky chart. But we are seeing the support hold quite well here. It did hold up well at 8 Satoshi, so hopefully we're going to see some more buying pressure come in and take this higher. Nikki, thumbs up. Yeah, brilliant. Adib, thanks, Jimbo. James, cheers for your thoughts. Yeah, of course. It's just, as you know, just me looking at the charts and giving you my input on what I think that potentially they could mean. reading the TA. I did see the Matic was mentioned, so let's have a look in there, see if this is painting any more of a pretty picture. All this red here on the watch list. It's a red day. On our chart, move out. I prefer to start on a more macro time, a wider time frame, and then work my way in to see an entry position. So try and spot something on a lower time frame, and then go from there. So actually, I remember this being mentioned in a video not so long ago, and we drew this line that had acted as resistance and support on several occasions and seemed reasonably significant, and it did hold as support again there. We have got some wicks that were played behind, but up on it, but no clear body close below it. And then obviously we've sprung back up. So it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on Matic from my perspective to see if we can stay above this line here about 118, 119. And I think that seeing a good support of this zone and continuous support could lead to a bit of a spring. But of course, we've always got the downwards pressure of the 50 EMA. Once we're under the 50 EMA with price action, as we are here, it acts as downwards pressure. We've got to break through it. And then the vice versa, when you're in a bit of a stronger trend, you break back down through the 50 and it acts as a bit more of a support. So I like to look for that. And we've still got some time to go before we break that 50. But keep an eye on it. Again, we've got a nice little bit of a formation growing here. We'd like to see the green above the red, but a good candle or two can very quickly rectify that. James, here's your thoughts, I think. Yeah, guys, if anyone's listening, if you guys got any other charts that you want to have a look at, I know the majority of the alts are pretty bleak, but if you've got anything that you want to have a look at, just chuck it there in the chat and we can get to it. I just wanted to have a quick look at a project. Certainly, I'm not sure if it's something that's come up in any of the videos so far. I'm sure I probably did look at it, but certainly it's been discussed in the Telegram group for some time and within some of the communities talking about Travala. And they've had some good news come out for them over the evening. And if you just bear with me, I will see if I can locate that. It was on the Travala blog. And it was regarding a investment from Neo's Eco Fund. Now, whether this potentially was the only news that has pushed the price up overnight or not is never clear. Of course, sometimes you get a piece of news which leads to FOMO and people start seeing the price move and they jump in. And it could also be that this project is starting to become more noticed, in general. I think that it's slowly climbing out of that sort of category of hidden gem. I know we're still under 6 million market cap, but as you can see, it's been getting some attention, certainly over the last 24 hours. We've had a move from 12 cents all the way up to about 17.5 cents, and then come back down and climbed back up towards it throughout the day. It'll be interesting to see if we go up and test this price up again here. It'd be better to look at it in Bitcoin, so we'll move over here. But if this, I'm not sure. With these charts here on charts.cointrader.pro, there's a chance that these could be anomalies, or like maybe one exchange volume or something like that. But here's the height of where we have reached in today's pump, which is this line here at 1.6, and we're back down now at 1.419. So it'd be interesting to see if we break this line here against Satoshi's, because I imagine that would see another big surge of price. We're pretty high up on all the momentum indicators at the moment. RSI's still got a bit of room to maneuver, but I wouldn't imagine. I wouldn't be completely surprised if we were rejected off this on a second bounce and came back down for some sort of retracement, because even in the most bullish move, you're more likely to see some retracement during that period. But if it breaks with high momentum and lots of volume, then maybe we're going to see another pump up. Let me just go back to that news story and just see if we can quickly have a look at it. So Neo's Eco Fund invests in blockchain-based hotel booking platform Travala.com. Committed to crypto's real-world use, this investment will assist in Travala.com's global expansion. That's just a nice headline there for Travala, seeing a big project and a bigger name getting involved and putting some money there. I'm not sure what the exact figures are. Haven't read all the way through the article yet, but I shall put the link into the Telegram group. So if any of you guys want to check that out, you're more than welcome to do so. if you guys have never seen the Project Travala before, maybe you want to go and have a look at that and have a read of that, see what you think of the project, see what you think. Give me your feedback. I'd love to know your thoughts. More inputs is better than just the one. CB Norwood says hi. All hi, CB. Great to have you along, mate. Welcome and thanks for joining us in the stream this evening. Apologies for it being a bit later on today. Had a bit of a busier afternoon after work than anticipated, but I want to make sure that I still got on. So better late than never, I suppose. So yeah, good day for Travala. That's the summary of that, and I will pop the link to this, but perhaps I'll put it in the comment section as well after the video is uploaded. So if anyone's not in the Telegram group, you'll be able to see that as well. We'll quickly jump over to CoinMarketCap and see what the lie of the land is, but I think we're going to already have a rough idea. There is quite a lot of red against USD at the moment, with the stable coins obviously standing out. Got a bit of green here on Yunus said Leo. I think this is one of the exchange tokens. I could be wrong. I think this might be an exchange token. It's cropped up into the top 100 relatively recently. I think it might have had a high market cap for a long time. So yeah, it takes you to bit Finex. I don't know if it's their token or not. I don't know enough about it just yet. But I've got a feeling with a market cap this size, it might have been one of those sort of ones that just hasn't been listed on CoinMarketCap, or perhaps a circulating supply or something was. Although it's got a relatively new history. But yeah, it's a large market cap to come out of nowhere, so probably worth doing some research into that project to see what's going on there. But in general, we're seeing red across the altcrypto.com chain doing 8% against the USD, so it must have stood up against Bitcoin. I always find that's an interesting measure for a project. I'm not saying that it's always going to be right and that this applies every single time, but I do like to look for that pattern to see if there's any projects that sort of stand up against it. Because if you're growing against Bitcoin value and everything else coming down in the market, maybe it's organic good growth. Perhaps people are really looking to get into the project, and that's why maybe they are still in the green. The systems just under 20 cents. This must be a relatively new token as well. It's the market cap, isn't it? Yeah. So they've added the circulating supply in the last 24th of June. So yeah, relatively recently, and then it's just shot up into the top 100. Like I said, so it's quite. You do often see this. I've seen this on a few occasions now. Like it's actually been on CoinMarketCap for some time, but because they haven't got the circulating supply, the market cap isn't filled. So it just sort of goes. Doesn't get as much attention on CoinMarketCap, and then all of a sudden, they get the circulating supply, and you've got a 1.5 billion market cap. Re-architect blockchain decentralized finance. We like DFIN. Arguably one of the most exciting prospects for the blockchain, in my opinion, DFIN. So I'd be interested to do a bit of a dive into this. I don't want to go through and butcher it now, of course. I prefer to do the full research into the projects and make my opinion based on that. I recommend if it's something that interests you, want to see what's this new currency in the top 100 that's bucking the trend against Bitcoin today, go ahead and do so. V Systems. And again, if you find anything interesting and there's anything you want to share about the project, pass it on, and I'll do my best to research it also. Bezant, BZNT, 40% up on the day. Absolutely standing out. Again, must be... Yeah, wow. Okay. That's had a pretty interesting day, hasn't it? Seven-day market, 9th of June, down at 2 cents, and we are now 13. Lots of volume coming in. $95 million market cap. 1.2 million USD volume for 40% increase. On the Binance DEX is the majority of the volume. Yeah, maybe we might have found something to do some real research into here, guys. That's a real increase over the last few days. Blockchain made simple. Bezant. Again, project to research, to learn about. It's nice, interesting seeing some new ones crop up on Coin Market Cap, and certainly with the large with the large market caps coming out of nowhere, it's interesting to see. And certainly, I'll be paying attention to some of these projects, especially considering we're seeing this on Binance Dex and Buybox. It's, you know, there's some exchange with some volume here. Also got it trading on BitHum, so you know, I'm interested to do a little bit of research into this project and learn a bit about it and see what's going on there. It's moving well. Nigel Gilmore. Good evening. My name is Nigel. Hello, my name is Nigel. How are you? Hello, Nigel. Welcome along. Is it Nigel? Is it? It's good to have you here. Sorry, I'm just joking. It's good to have you here. Good to have you here. Welcome along. I'm very well, thank you. Rather, it's hot today, stuffy, so a bit warm today. But other than that, okay. And of course, I'd probably be a little bit better if we're seeing a less red market, but this is just how it is. With a market, you have to be prepared for days where you see the red, and you have to be prepared for the days where you see the green, and temper the emotional shift between the two. Of course, that is easier said than done. I appreciate that for sure. See again if we've got anything standing out on gainers and losers outside of the top 100. BitNautic 2,043%. Quant's been running quite nicely over the last month or two. I've seen some nice daily high volume gains for Quant. Maybe they're making some more moves. That's not a project that I am interested in. Don't hold any of that project, but worth going to do some research on, certainly. Scrumble Network, second highest volume on the day for a gainer, giving us a 21.9 million volume and 15% increase. So another nice day there. Congratulations if you hold Scrumble. Any high volume losses? 13.5 million down, 13.5 million volume, and Elron down 20%. So there is the most recent of the IEOs, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is down big time today, taking some heat there. Let's have a look. Again, the chart, actually charting this is a little bit not completely redundant, but it has redundancies in the sense that it's relatively new, so you can only do so much with the charts. You know, just 4 hour wise, you know, we haven't even got a lagging 50 yet, so we do here on the 1 hour. Look, just heading down at the moment. You know, maybe we're going to see the 7 and 50 come for another touch like we saw here. But of course, it's that breakout that we're really looking for. That's the sign that we want to look for. Of course, as you can see here, that doesn't always guarantee that you're going to see a huge increase. Sometimes we get a break over across and we can see it come back down. From my personal perspective and opinion, I prefer to see them in higher time frames and then look for them, spot a pattern in a higher time frame that makes me bullish, and then use the lower time frame to sort of refine an entry. But of course, that is just my own strategy. Nigel, you pronounced it correct. Thank you, my friend. Yeah. I don't know how I could have quite got that one wrong, but glad I got it right. What's your thoughts on Bitcoin becoming the one universal currency? I am new to Bitcoin. Regards, Nigel. Okay, so Nigel, all right. I see there being value in believing that Bitcoin could become a very widely used potential store of digital value. That's my personal perspective. I think that the scarcity aspects of it and the fact that it's borderless, frictionless, without a third-party intermediary, I think all these things give it attractiveness for people to invest and store value in. Is it gonna be a one universal currency? Listen, I don't have in all honesty, I do not have a crystal ball. I cannot tell you that yes, with full certainty, I believe this is going to become number one universal currency. But I do believe it's a very good potential store of digital value, and I also believe that because of the consensus-driven way that Bitcoin is coded and the decisions are made on what and how to add to the Bitcoin code, I think that gives it a really big benefit into future developments because it has pluses and minuses, of course, because you could have lots of confrontation about that, and you end up with things called hard forks. And if you don't know what they are, you can go and do some research on hard forks. But you have hard forks like Bitcoin Cash and famously SV and things like that. And that's where coders have differences of opinions or differences of ambition or where they want to see the project go, and they might split the coin. It's more technical than a split, but it's kind of taken ages to explain. But a hard fork, and they'll go in their different ways. But because of the consensus-driven model of Bitcoin, I think that they'll be able to potentially develop on it very, very well. I mean, I think that it gives them an opportunity to add the things that are really required, and I think that they'll do that. And you'll see like the Lightning Network and other things coming in. And I'm sure, from my own personal perspective, I think it's very highly likely that we'll see things like smart contracts and then the expansion of that sort of blockchain usage on Bitcoin as well. I could be wrong. And of course, that comes with other advancements that would need to be the case. For example, I think it would have to be less energy, would have to consume less energy. That's not to say that I think it's an absolutely outrageous amount of energy it consumes. It's a high number, but for example, you're talking about it being a one universal currency. Well, I'm sure that Bitcoin alone probably doesn't run as much electricity as all the banks' facilities in all the world. You know, that if you think of it relatively as a one world currency, then energy power consumption wise, perhaps it's maybe not as massive as a bank. But I do think that it would need to become more green. I think it needs to become more implemented into everyday life. We're seeing steps being taken to do that. One thing I read the other day, I think it was, if you guys are on Twitter, see if you can find Rhythm Trader. Really puts out some nice tweets, some really interesting thoughts, and ties it in with facts. And one of the thoughts that he put out several days ago was, I believe he said by 2030 or something like that, or 2025, there won't be any 15-year-olds on the planet that haven't lived in a world that Bitcoin existed in. So, that's the point. It's the future progression, the development of things. How is it going to change in 50 years? It's absolutely impossible to tell right now. Do I think that it's got intrinsic value in its use case? Yes, I do. And it's, as a source of store of value. I certainly see that as a use case. But there are many other use cases beyond that if they choose to go down those routes. That being said, I was asked a question in the video last time, maybe it was in the last video, perhaps the one before, about the need for altcoins and the altcoin market. And I said, just because I think that Bitcoin potentially could become to essentially replace the use case of many of these altcoins, that doesn't mean to say that it's going to happen overnight. And that doesn't mean to say that some of those more established ones that have big, essentially, if one of the big projects, let's say, for example, Ethereum, really, it's already flying, but if it steps up the gear and becomes an absolutely huge worldwide dominant company, just because Bitcoin has smart contracts as well, does that mean it's going to just disappear? I'm not so convinced. So not only do I'm not happy to say I think it might be the one universal currency. I think it has the potential to be, but I also don't think it will be the only cryptocurrency that we end up seeing in the future. I can't see, we're seeing the central banks takes action to implement cryptocurrency. I think it's becoming part of the future now. Actually, there was a story that was released today that one of the projects has just been granted SEC approval for the regulation for their ICO. And that is a huge step, in my opinion, personal opinion, that's a huge step. And it ponders the question, are ICOs going to return with a bang, but slightly more regulated and perhaps run slightly differently? There's a lot of future ahead of us. And what I would say is it's people. I love another thing that I like to hear is people say, have we missed the train yet? And I mean, I know it's back on the up, but I'm not even sure it's left the station. In the grand scheme of things, I'm not even sure, that the train has arrived at the station yet. We're talking a huge span of time if what they're targeting and what you're suggesting was to play out. It's over a massive period of time. And in a sort of period of time where we'll see a dip from 20,000 to 3,000. And yes, of course, they're big numbers and it's a significant drop. But I think it would just be another blip in the radar. That's my own personal opinion, And another thing I would say, Nigel, and this is from the honesty of how I feel, is if you are new to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, just learn as much as you can. Absolutely learn as much as you can. That would be my perspective for it, because the more that you learn about the blockchain and cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in general, the more reasons I think you actually end up having connections to want to stick around because you learn things. There's other things that you weren't aware of before, and then all of a sudden you learn and get different perspectives. There are loads of YouTubers here, loads of really good ones to go and listen to and watch, and you know, get as many perspectives as you can. And if someone's just outright trying to say buy this or whatever, you know, some sort of thing like that, you know, just take everything with a pinch of salt. Everything's someone's opinion and perspective in this space. So more is often useful. Guys, if you have any more questions or charts that you want to have a look at, pop them in the chat group, and we will get to them as we look at Elrond there from its large descent from its release. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was 12x from the IEO price at this stage. So it would suggest that a lot of this selling pressure would be those IEO investors probably taking the money off the top. And in fact, actually, I don't know the structure of Elrond. I didn't look into it too much for this IEO. I have done in the previous ones, but perhaps you know, they could have had often these initial exchange offerings are just the final slice of coins available once an ICO has been completed. And I know that sounds. I'm sorry if I'm teaching you to suck eggs. I apologise for that. I'm trying to deliver the information for as many levels of knowledge as possible. And with the IEOs, I think that a lot of people sort of had the feeling that that was just because they were being sold on Binance in this IO, that was like the only place it happened. But if I'm, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they were they were ICOs before that, and then sort of like the final 3 million was then sold on Binance. So is it more than just a promotional push for the end? You know, I know tokens were sold, but think about how much hype and stuff that drove the project. I guess the thing that people really like is that it kind of gives it like as if Binance are giving it a tick of approval. You know, if they're prepared to do the IEO, then perhaps, you know, it's a really good project because Binance are doing it. But, you know, who knows? At the end of the day, Binance are a money-making company. They're there to make profit. Nigel Gilmore, thank you for the response, my friend. Yeah, no problem, Nigel. Like I said, it's all about learning and trying to take on as much information as possible. Thank you for joining the stream. I hope, you know, whatever, some of it's useful for you. Kev T says, thoughts on QLC, please. Kev, not a problem. Let's have a little jump over to the QLC chart and see what sort of shape it is in. Showed 1.7% down on the day. Jump over to the 4-hour chart. So again, the idea of the current trend, and the trend is certainly heading down. You're not seeing yet. I'm not seeing on the 4-hour chart a massive reason to believe that this is about to reverse. You could make a call certainly for a potential falling wedge pattern here forming. But that most high resistance. You would consider it testing this resistance area. So we are potentially seeing a tightening range over this zone. There's something to watch. From my own personal perspective, Kev, I wouldn't be immediately entering this trade. Of course, this is not financial or legal advice. I'm just telling you what I would do looking at the charts, and I wouldn't be immediately entering. But what I'm seeing here on a 4-hour chart is a tightening range developing that I would expect to break out either way with a little bit of movement. And once these ranges, these resistance and supports, resistances and supports converge, you tend to see a breakout from that range. So it's always good to have, you know, take a little bit of time back, look at the formation that's been developing, and see if you can draw on any support and resistance lines to see if you've got any of these convergences. And there's certainly something occurring here, but not enough signs there on the 4-hour chart for me to immediately jump. We're seeing our 7 EMA still pointing down, not looking to cross the 50 just yet, which is a nice sign. Obviously, price below the 50 EMA on the 4-hour. If we flip over to the daily, we might get a little bit of a different view. Again, we've got that formation there with our support that acted here and our most recent support areas. How significant that support ends up being, you know, it's more about the level of touches. You say to look for these formation odds, ideally you want at least touches on it, 2 touches on a support and resistance. And we've got the 2 touches, but, you know, the more established these resistance and supports are, the more momentum they're likely to have when they break out. At least that's from my own experience. Nigel Gilmore. I need to leave, my friend. I have subscribed. Thank you again. Regards, Nigel. Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much, Nigel. It's great to have you as a subscriber. Just pushing on past 100 at the moment. And you know what? I'm really, really happy with that. Yeah, I'm really happy. It's nice to see things growing. And yeah, it's a really big push to continue to want to make content when you see people, especially when you have people returning again. It'd be great to see you in another live stream, Nigel. Hopefully, we'll see you there. I hope you found it useful somewhat. But yeah, so here on the 1-day QLC chart, as I said, still got the TDI pointing downwards. No clear signs of an immediate breakout occurring just yet. But we will be watching this range to see a potential breakout. You see, if we were to break out of this support area with any back to volume, then it'd be certainly reasonable to expect a test of the 50 EMA. So if you do see this break up, have a look at the 50 EMA and see, because you can see it's acted as a resistance here. You know, on several occasions you can see we tested it here and failed, tested it here and failed again. And that I would imagine is certainly going to be a bigger indication of if this is going to continue up. Break the 50, then certainly the chart looking quite bullish at that point from my perspective. Quickly, someone asked me a question today about a project. I was in a very small cap coin for a small amount. I sold about 50% of it about 3 or 4 days ago. And not because I had any idea of any news or anything. I just wanted to move a little bit of it out and spread the risk a bit more. It was already up for a little bit from where I bought it, and I just thought I'd spread the risk a bit and put something in put it elsewhere. And it just absolutely plummeted in the last couple of days. Apparently, from what I'm hearing and reading, Aurochs are doing a rebranding. And they just announced this potential rebranding and some sort of coin swap and stuff like that, and it just fell off a cliff from 3 cents, and now we're sat here saying a 20% gain on the day, but at not even 1 cent. So you can see that was a pretty big fall. I am certainly still holding a little bag of this, and the market cap is pretty much dried up now. 46,000. That is, I mean, that's really low now. I mean, this is certainly the lowest cap coin I hold. It was a bit of a moonshot one. Have a small bag of it, and if they start delivering on their what they would like to do, then you're going to see it start multiplying. And it did. There were some days where on high volume days, it really did spike up to you had some 8 cents days. I'm sure there was an 11 cents day at some point. But this can happen. This is a project that probably I'm not going to say they're dead, because I don't like making outright calls like that, but 46,000 market cap, it's dying out, isn't it, at the moment? So yeah, it just shows you that not all of them work out, but you have to be, again, it's part of the preparation of it. It was a small, from my own personal perspective, I had a very low risk amount from my own how I would view low risk. It's different to everyone, of course, but for me it was a low risk amount that I had in there, and it was just to see, if they start delivering, then you can start seeing us doing a few 100% in a few days or whatever. And it's but low risk amount because of the dangers of the low market. James, Oklahoma. Oh, great to have you join us, James. Welcome along. James says hello, Jimbo. Great to have you here, James. If you've got any charts you want to have a look at, I will stick around for a bit longer. I'm probably not going to last out the whole hour till 9:30 today, guys, because like I said, it's quite hot and I am doing it later. But perhaps if we still have questions and comments and chart requests coming in, then we can keep it ticking for a little bit longer. Guys, I'm just going to take this quick second just to ask you once again, if you're watching, and you can give the video a like, and if you're not already subscribed, please feel free to subscribe, and you'll be able to catch the next live again as well. It'll give you a notification. Let's see. I'll jump over quickly to Cointelegraph, see if any more requests come in. We'll see if there's any news out there today that is immediately drawing our attention. Iran plans to allow crypto mining. Central Bank of Iran governor says this is really interesting. And for me, I think geopolitics and cryptocurrency, and geopolitics and money in general, are so obviously intertwined, and it goes as well. I mean, I don't want to talk politically on here ever, but for example, with the the oil tanker situation that's been going on in that area of the world at the moment. You know, seizing it. It's also interlinked to these assets and the commodities and the money and the geopolitics. And Iran has released a statement to say they're planning to allow crypto mining. So you can be sure if that's the case and that continues to be that way, there's going to be some Bitcoin mines continuing to be turned on in Iran. Even if the rest of the world tried to shut it down, they'll be mining, or at least for now. Kev T says, thanks for your chart analysis. Been invested in QLC for over a year now. Dollar cost average down each month. Introduced staking now for QGAS tokens. 63 million staked. Locked up tokens from 260 million supply. Wow, that's a nice chunk of people locking up their tokens from 63 million out of 260. That's had some high support for the staking. I have to. I wish I could comment more on that, Kev, but that's not something that I've read about myself. So I'm going to dig into that. I've got a little notepad here that I've been writing stuff. I keep saying, "Oh, I'm going to have to look into this project and that." But that's the thing about doing these; you see so much. But I'll certainly be looking into that because I find that a really nice high figure for people taking confidence and locking up their tokens. But I'm always careful as well with things like that. With the stake, you said they're locked up. What are the terms of the lock? I'm going to have to look into that myself. But that certainly sounds interesting, and it sounds like you're confident in the project. Dollar cost averaging is a slow way to enter the project and try and minimize risk and buy on the way down. I'm just saying this for anyone who might not already know that. You slowly you buy as you see the price drop, and you continue to drop in, and you end up with a accumulated average price because of all your price buys you keep a note of course. And the idea is over the long term, you're going to get an average lower buying price than just buying all in one area. But yeah, so certainly be interested to see how that one works out for you. And like I said, I will be looking into the staking as well because I do think that's interesting how many people are staked. There's an interest. Sorry, just before I move on, I'll just say for you as well, Kev, I'm seeing an interesting resistance area here, significant resistance area here. I put my line in around this area at 500, so I didn't even see that. It's such a psychological area as well at 500. I know that seems a long way away from here, and that is because I am on the 1 week chart, so it's a big chart, so we've got a lot of history on this chart. But you can see that this 500 has obviously a psychological level, but actually has acted as price support and resistance over quite a few weeks here. You can see this month. Earlier on this year, during May and June, we had a lot of price activity, so it's going to be a super high volume node. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see it. This is a bold call, but if we did see a breakout of this potential falling wedge pattern, I wouldn't be surprised if the big test would end up being 500 satoshis. But that's a longer term perspective. I'm not saying that that's going to happen tomorrow. Just looking at this 1 week chart, but you've got to start seeing that price turn around and not breaking any of these supports. Adib says Bitcoin dropped a few hundred. Oh, has it? Let's go and have a look. That's interesting. Yeah, on the last video, one of the people watching commented and said Bitcoin always seems to move significantly when Jimbo's streaming. I promise, guys, you know that there's 10 or 12 of you watching. We're not affecting the price. I'm not running. I'm not running something like that here. But it has, yes, come back down again. See, look at that. It's a clear signal here on the 1 hour chart. You've seen everything get rejected again on that lagging 50, get crossed back down, and we are heading back down, guys. So we couldn't break back up. Let's see what that's done for our 4 hour chart. Probably looking a little bit more bearish now. So the support line, if you guys missed the beginning of the video, I'll just quickly overrun this again. I'm sorry for all the lines here. If you've been in the previous videos, you've recognized most of them. Got a support box here, and these are support and resistances horizontally that we set for areas of watch price action over the last few weeks. And also we have the neckline that we drew from the previous video, which is this line here of the potential head and shoulders pattern that we saw play out. We broke up, we've come back down, and we tested and saw this neckline of the head and shoulders act as a support area for quite some time. We've currently dropped back down it. I've got that line on this candle about 11,500. Obviously, it goes slightly low as the candles go on because of the fact that it's a diagonal support. So I have to keep an eye on that. But a break of that and certainly a break of this line here at 11,180 with any real volume and momentum is going to see us dropping and possibly retesting this support zone in the long run. Yeah, and again, just as a brief catch up from the last video, we discussed about the need for Bitcoin to set a higher high, and I put this line in here at 13,345 based on the resistance of this previous candle. Not the highest candle, but just a resistance that I thought might end up being significant, and we didn't come all the way up to it. You're never going to see that exactly, but you can see that between the area of the two last resistance levels that we had drawn on certainly acted significantly, and we were rejected at that point, and we're now back testing the bottom end of the support range that we had in play for the last week or so. James Oklahoma says BNB BTC. I'm trying to quickly do that. Just have a look. 1 day. The 1 day is looking like it wants to see a bit more red. I'd like to see same again as previously stated. It looks even clearer here on the 1 day. Actually, I think you can't actually see the formation of the head and shoulders so much because you lose out the perspective of this area. But you can see that neckline exists, and you can see that it acted as support. We're currently below it, so I'd really want to see, for hoping for another jump up and to go back up and try and retest this area, we want to see this support come back into play, and it's yet to do so. We're now seeing the negative cross on the TDI as well, an interesting thing to see. Kev T says 10-day lockup. Okay, so it's relatively short, but still, if they're staking, that's good. And like you said, that's a high level of the circulating supply to be within staking. So people are doing that. I'm going to have to do some reading into that. BNB daily chart looking like the majority of alts and just slipping down. Currently testing the bottom end of this area. So this was again from previous video lines we put in. We saw this high node area here that acted as resistance for some period. And once we broke out of it, we saw a nice run up. So we put that line in as significant. And this was the resistance that had formed from the peak. And again, it did play out as resistance on several occasions, you can see. And we've now come back down. Question is for BNB, are we going to see this area act as support and bounce? I have to keep an eye on that. Red on the candles at the moment. Possible red reversal doji here. Green, you would have maybe been calling this for a shooting star, but it could be a reversal doji, so we could see a bounce. But I really want to see this line broken back up to the upside to suggest we're going to go up any further in the short term on the daily. 4-hour chart. So the 4-hour chart showing it. So 4-hour chart wants to test. You can see that, in my opinion, it wants to test. We've got a high low on these two bottoms here, and we've got our TDI crossing back very close to crossing positively. We could even see the red and green cross our lagging 50, which certainly is a nice indicator to keep an eye on. That would see a potential for breakout, but I think that would have to coincide with the break of this resistance. I think if we go up and test this resistance level, we get rejected, what you're going to end up seeing is pretty much the same thing play out on the TDI, where you maybe just see it just cross over slightly, but then bounce back down. So that line there that has acted as the previous resistance on the run up, I put that in line, and that's at 265. Again, this is just myself, guys. Don't take this as absolute oracle, because I'm no oracle. No one knows everything, and not all TA can account for everything that could happen. We know that it's the volatility of the market. I guess you guys know as well. Okay, so all right, guys, I'll do this. I'll stay on for about another 5 minutes. So if you guys have got any last requests, chuck them in there. Thanks for sticking with me for the later video today, guys. I'm glad that you guys have stuck around. And we'll quickly just go back over to the news. So we saw the Iran story. Bitcoin peer-to-peer trading rises amid ban on USD in Zimbabwe. Yeah, is it Zimbabwe who are paying for the... This is interesting. Zimbabwe. I'm just spell this wrong. That's absolutely spelled wrong. BTC price, sure. My search engine will... Or maybe I did get it wrong. So I don't want to see euros. Ignites massive Bitcoin fever. I'm sure I saw that one of the African countries had a humongous. No, I'll see. So here we go. So perhaps it was just some sort of clickbait story, because here we've got. They're saying no, Bitcoin isn't really selling for $76,000 in Zimbabwe. So yeah, I did see this story pop up the other day. It's obviously been It's a reflection of the black market rate for US dollars held in eco cash, which have been rendered virtually worthless by the government. Okay. Well, the outline of that is that it's not trading at that much of a premium in Zimbabwe, but it's good to see, and I'm sure that progressively, as the future moves on, we'll probably see more and more of this potentially going on, where you've got country, we're seeing it bit by bit, countries starting to use it as a safe haven, and from what I understand, it's the citizens. The citizens are using it as a store of their value, and I remember reading this interview. Can't remember what it was in. It was a long time ago. Well, I say a long time ago. It's in the last 6 months or so. But it was I think it was someone had escaped one of the South American countries, and they said, previously they probably would have been robbed of all their possessions and value, because if they'd have had to have carried all their things of value with them to try and escape where they were escaping from, they're pretty confident they would have been robbed or something along those lines. And they said, instead we were able to carry our value on a, essentially a USB stick. And that's the sort of stories that really drive one of the adoption reasons for the currency. And I think the more of these, I'm not saying specifically oppressive, but states with failing currencies, with lack of trust in governments and things like that, you're going to see more and more people turn to this. I think it's my personal opinion. Brazilian coffee farming cooperative to issue a coffee-backed token. Bean to coin, one-to-one transfer, perhaps. Oil reports losses. Crypto markets in red. So still getting the YouTube adverts for cryptocurrency. I think it is just on Cointelegraph.com. I'm not sure if I have actually seen them anywhere else, but it is interesting to see YouTube now promoting this. Certainly when there's YouTubers whose videos are being removed, obviously I don't think I have anywhere near a wide enough audience of sorts or reach to be in this sort of category. But I have spoken to other YouTubers in conversation and have told me, they're getting videos are just being pulled down. And it doesn't even seem to have a sort of a right or pattern or reason. They're just, some of them are going, some of them are not. Odd. But it's interesting to see that they're muted and now they've got extra things coming out. I'll watch this video later. Oh, perhaps it's just because this is it's a Cointelegraph video, so perhaps maybe it's just Cointelegraph self-promoting for YouTube. I don't know. But it's interesting to see. Gene, what's up, folks? Like button smashed. See, Snapchat has Bitcoin as now to when skipping from one person's story to the next. Oh, is that right? Is that right? Yeah, sure. I know. I did know that they had been sort of promoting forex and stuff like that as well. I had seen that before. Yeah, that's interesting to have it going in. I mean, I wonder if perhaps also you've got to remember that because of your interest in cryptocurrency, maybe you having a more of a targeted advert. You get targeted advertising, so perhaps it could be something to do with that as well. But still, it's cool. It's cool to hear that it's on Snapchat because it's the sort of thing where if they're using it to target ads and you're getting anything that's going to give it any more attention is good. Trade in 500 platforms ad. Yeah. Okay. So I think I actually have seen that before. Yeah. It's like a leverage, isn't it? I think. Adib, great live. Thanks, Jimbo. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you stuck around and enjoyed it, Adib. Thanks for joining, guys. You know what? I think I am going to wrap it up there because I am very hot and I need some water. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us today, guys. I know it's a late one, but I appreciate all of you that tuned in. I'll try and get another video done before I go away on holiday on next Tuesday. But if I can't, of course, I'm always active in Telegram. As much as I can be. And if you're not in there, come and join us. Links in the description. It's really cool. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for being subbed to the channel. And thank you for joining me today. And I will catch you next time. Bye, guys. I'll work out how to close it down in a moment. Bye.